while they're up there and working is very important. So we do that. As far as email, we have the ability to send email, although it's not a live connection like we experience back home. Instead, it goes into a file, and then 3 times a day, Mission Control in Houston brings down all our mail and sends up mail that's waiting for us. And then lastly, usually once a day, they send up news from home that they compile from various outlets.
Well, I hear it gets very comfortable up on the space station these days. We even hear that you now get to watch television. So what programs do you get, and how often do you get to sit down in front of the tube?
I'm going to have to go find this TV. I don't know anything about it. I think that's some kind of myth.
And actually what happens is for the shuttle crew members, our timelines are pretty packed missions, and so we don't, with our time off, what few time off we have, we're usually looking out the window. For the station crew members, they usually get DVDs and things so that they have the ability to watch movies and uplink some files of whatever their favorite shows might be. So it's not quite live, but I believe that they have access to things that maybe a shuttle mission doesn't get.
I'd like the 3 of you to tell us what you'll each remember most about this mission, or just about being in space in general.
The challenge here, as you know, everything's not going perfect. That's always how it is when you're working at the edge of capability. And so we have to solve some issues to complete our battery change-out on the solar arrays over the next few days, and that's going to be very memorable.
This is my second flight in space, and I thought in my first flight that looking at the Earth and working in this in the International Space Station with such an extraordinarily great team of dedicated people was the utmost. And on my second mission, I think exactly the same. I will bring back with me souvenirs of the majestic planet that we inhabit, and the fact that I'm a very, very little but very enthusiastic part of this great team.
Evan, this is Mark, and I think what I will remember most about this mission is the fact that here on the International Space Station with 13 people, we have folks, we have 2 Russian cosmonauts, we have a European astronaut from Belgium, we have a Japanese astronaut, we have a Canadian astronaut, Julie, that's one of our colleagues. We have American astronauts. We have folks from all over the world, and there are so many men and women all over the world that believe in this and live the dream and work it, whether they're here or on the ground. And it's just a privilege to be a part of that and to have the ability to actually share common experiences and hopefully maybe be an example of all the things we can do internationally when we cooperate.
And Mark, if you could do me a favor and describe what the Earth looks like from up there, because it's always a fascinating description when an astronaut tells us.
There are 2 things that stand out to me. One is that, as I tell people whenever I go on an appearance on the Earth, is that until I got here, I have never in my life seen the color black the way that I have, and I tried to wonder why, and then it came to me that in space, in the brightness of daylight, you see blackness as soon as you escape the Earth's atmosphere. And so in brilliant sunlight, you still have black, and it's just stunning. The other thing is that when you look at the blue Earth and you look off on the horizon, besides the majesty and the beauty, as Julie said, you see this very extremely thin glow of almost a cobalt blue. And you realize that's the atmosphere. That's the only thing that separates us on the planet from extinction. And it does, in my mind at least, make me a lot more conscious of what the environment's all about and how we need to protect the only planet that we have.
And Julie, if you could, you're probably the last Canadian astronaut to fly on a space shuttle. How does that feel for you, and how does that feel for the country?
Well, I I'm sitting here on the International Space Station, and I can see at the end of the other module my colleague, Bob Thirsk, who's also a Canadian astronaut and who will be here for several months. It is perhaps the last time a Canadian flies on the vehicle called the Space Shuttle, but this is not the last time a Canadian flies in space. We are part of an international program. We are a strong believer that in order to progress as a society, we have to reach out in all the confines of research, including outer space.
Mark Polanski, Dave Wolf, and Julie Payette from the Space Shuttle Endeavour aboard the International Space Station, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Endeavour ISS, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the Fox News Radio portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from KHOU-TV.
Coming weeks, New York's Lincoln Center will host a separate memorial. You can see more of Cronkite's funeral and a slideshow of his remarkable career at KHOU.com.
All right, now let's take you out of this world. The Space Shuttle Endeavour's crew was hard at work today using a robotic arm to begin some new experimental work in Japan's new lab.
But they're taking a break from their very busy schedules to talk live with us. Joining us from space, Shuttle Commander Mark Polanski, Mission Specialist Julie Payette, and astronaut David Wolf. And now a little NASA speak, because you see, the crew won't respond unless we say this. Endeavour ISS, this is KHOU-TV. How do you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear. It's good to be talking to you.
And it's good to be talking to you. We hear you loud and clear as well. And, you know, this is quite the long-distance call. It's about 236 miles up in space, which makes for a slight signal delay back to Earth. But, Commander, how did things go today as far as the work was concerned?
They actually went extremely well. It was a really big day for our international partners over in Japan. They developed this robotic arm, and we brought a lot of their hardware, and Julie and I and 3 others managed to go ahead and use the robotic arm to transfer 3 of the experimental payloads that are going to stay attached to the outside of the space station for research, and we were able to transfer that. Took most of the day. My colleague to my left, Dave Wolf, is preparing a couple of folks for a spacewalk tomorrow, which will be our 4th. So all in all, first off, I think there are no bad days in space, but as days go, this one was pretty good.
That is just great. Yeah, that patio is going to be great with that vacuum of space to do the research in. Now, the 3 of you are there. There's 10 others, 13 people on board the International Space Station, which is the most ever. So is it cramped quarters? How's it been?
It's really fun up here with people from multiple countries. I picked up any object to show you how things float. It happens to be a Russian-English dictionary. And down there's some speaking in other languages. As you walk around, it's almost going from country to country. And the different modules have their own character. The Japanese module is behind us to our left. So it makes for an interesting mix of people and conversation. This is really an interesting gathering place. And a good research laboratory, too.
Well, it's good to see you're also getting a chance to brush up on your Russian as well while you're up there. Mission Specialist Payette, I have just a couple of curiosity questions. How do you sleep in space, or how do you shower up there while you're there floating around?
We sleep very well in space. Can you imagine? We have a sleeping bag each, and when you get into it, you float in the sleeping bag. The sleeping bag floats in the module, so all you have to do is to attach it somewhere, which is a good idea, by the way, because during the night while you're sleeping, you might start drifting and end up somewhere you didn't intend to be in the first place. So you attach your sleeping bag to the wall, the ceiling, somewhere, and then you just go to sleep. It's actually very comfortable. For washing, of course, we're in weightlessness, so a shower head with water dripping on top of your head would not work. We don't have a shower. We don't even have a faucet or a tap. But what we have is a small little squirt gun that can squirt water into a washcloth, and we wash like we would if we were on an expedition or a camping trip or something like that. It works.
Well, Mission Specialist Julie Payette and Astronaut Dave Wolf and Commander Mark Polansky, thank you all so much for joining us. It's just fabulous talking to you. Good luck getting back home here, and good luck out there in space. It's so neat to watch these guys, the microphones floating around between them.
Wishing them safe travel.
Yes, indeed.
Good trip back.